Sure. They call to order yet. Listen, Sparks already said, are you ready or whoever's ready?
We are ready. Oh, did you succeed?
I'd like to call the meeting to order for whoever wants to go. Gentlemen,
Please join me in saluting our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first, Father God, we thank you for bringing us here tonight. Lord, just thank you for this community to Larry. Citizens that are here, Lord, just asking you, help us leaders make good decisions when we out in the city. Bless us all. Keep the parade safe tonight, Lord. Just bless all those in attendance. In your name we pray. Amen.
amen. Let's see here. I have to read all this? Huh. Don't I read the public comment or? Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the board at this time. State law prevents the board from acting on any matter not on the agenda. However, your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. This is also the time for the public to comment on items listed under the consent calendar or to request an item from the consent calendar to be pulled for discussion purposes. Comments relating to the public hearing and general business items will be heard at the time these items are discussed. In fairness to all who wish to speak, public comment is limited to a total of 15 minutes, with each speaker allowed 3 minutes unless otherwise extended by the board. Please begin your comments by stating your name and providing your city of residence. For those who wish to provide public comment while viewing the meeting online, may call 559-366-1849. Please note that there will be approximately a 20-second delay in broadcast for viewers when calling in. Mute the device used for viewing and meeting. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, moving on to communications. Are there any communications?
No communications.
Consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted on one motion without discussion. If discussion is desired, that item may be removed and considered separately. We have two items, 5.1 and 5.2. Does anybody want to discuss? Okay, seeing none.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Moving on to general business. Comments related to general business items are limited to 3 minutes per speaker for a maximum of 30 minutes per item, unless otherwise extended by the board. For those that wish to provide public comment while viewing the meeting online, you may call 559-366-1849. Please note that there will be approximately a 20-second delay in broadcast for viewers. When calling in, mute the device used for viewing and the meeting. All right, 6.1, condition and risk assessment of downtown sewer collection.
Good afternoon, Board. As you'll recall, the Board of Public Utilities awarded the contract to Carollo Engineers for the preparation of the city's water, sanitary sewer, and storm drain master plans. The board subsequently adopted those plans earlier this year in June. And so while the master plans were a basic framework of our infrastructure and how we're going to move forward in the short term and long term, it really didn't get into depth in certain areas. So as the board has already approved, Carollo is going to do additional work for International Agri-Center Way with regards to that project. They're doing additional work for us at the wastewater treatment plant to move forward with the domestic plant expansion. So they're preparing the wastewater facility facilities plan. So the downtown is kind of one of the next pieces and the next priorities that we asked Carollo to take a look. So as you know, the downtown is very old infrastructure. When you have construction after construction after construction, sometimes we don't know exactly what's there, you know, after years of different people taking ownership of the buildings, different uses of the buildings. So we did ask Carollo to provide us a scope of services and a quote to perform a condition and risk assessment of the downtown gravity sewer mains. With all of the development, this is imperative. Some of those buildings have basements. The sewer lines run along those basements. We have had issues where we've cleaned the lines and we've gone into a basement or two. And so we really need to understand the infrastructure, and it'll help move development forward as we better know what is there. So we asked them to provide a scope of services. The biggest piece of this work is the CCTV, which is the inspection of the gravity mains. And so that will be of value to us, and it'll be information that we will be able to keep afterwards and have on hand as we maintain the system. From there, they will develop the risk assessment and recommend improvements. They will develop a rehab and replacement program, an R&R program. They will provide a technical memorandum summarizing the work and the recommendations. And then we did provide a contingency with that inspection. In case we come across anything unknown, we need to do any additional CCTV work. So this project is jointly funded. It was quoted at $226,000. The city council authorized the use of $90,000 from the ARPA funds to go towards this. The city manager has $68,000 coming from his professional and technical services account. And then the other $68,000 will come from the sewer fund from their professional and technical services account. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Question, it says the downtown, the gravity sewer mains. What's downtown considered?
There's a map attached to it.
Oh, if I would just follow instructions, I apologize.
It's all good. It goes from, let me see, from J Street east over to O Street. Cross Avenue is the north part and Inyo is the south. So it's the kind of the square identified, a little bit of locations north of Cross, but you can see the map that's
That's
attached.
the same area we use for our downtown master plan.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
So after 2023, which was like a banner year for water and drainage, I would assume, was anything repealed during that wet year? Or?
You know what? The really interesting thing is years ago, I think before I was with the city, we used to get a lot of flooding downtown. We did build those basins. We have those basins along I Street between the railroad tracks and the I Street. And those have really relieved a lot of the flooding that we used to get downtown. So actually, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx us, but since I've been director, the downtown has not had an issue with a lot of flooding and the additional water that we've received. So really the concern is the sewer lines, just because we have basements, old lines, you know, and they're probably smaller lines. And so that's what we need to look at.
And I would add that, you know, I've heard some comments, not many, a couple in the public that have said, well, we're going to spend all this energy redeveloping downtown, but we can't put any new uses downtown because we don't have sewer capacity, that's a false statement. At the same time, I can't tell you we have plenty of capacity and everything's great, because that would be a false statement, right? So we've got to kind of figure that balance out. As we're being aggressive, we're going to start recruiting more companies downtown, and we're going to, as Tricia mentioned, start changing some uses downtown. We have to have the confidence to tell them you can invest your money and spend millions of dollars and you're going to have plenty of capacity. So this is going to help us be able to make those statements, or at least we'll know where we're at with capacity and what we need to do going forward. And some of those costs will be covered by private sector and some will be covered by the taxpayers.
I have a question that's related to this, but Mark, out of downtown, people within this block here, how much in percentage wise is that property owned by out of the area people? Because I've always heard, talk about people that talk, I've always heard there's a lot of businesses that don't want to upgrades because they're owned by people in LA, for example.
Yeah. I know we have that information because we're actually right now going through reassessing the downtown special taxing district. And so we know parcel in that same boundary area, we know parcel by parcel who owns it. And we're getting ready pretty soon to go out and meet with those folks and talk with them about the new taxing district we want to create. It's not an additional tax. It's take the existing several that we have and reconfigure them so that they actually make sense and work to cover ongoing maintenance costs and those kinds of things. I don't know off the top of my head how many are out of town. I know there's a decent number of out of town folks. There's also a decent number of folks who have owned the properties for many, many years. They're sort of legacy properties in the family, and some of them have been, both parties have been perhaps a little shy about reinvesting. But now that the city has an adopted master plan, now the city's investing a bunch of money downtown. Now that you can start seeing changes, now is the time to approach them. And frankly, you know, for those folks who are either out of town or are still very shy about doing something with their property, we're going to be bringing in new investors and say, hey, look, now is the time to capitalize. And so I hope to be able to have a better answer for you.
No, that's, at least
Okay.
there's, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Thank you. Okay, does anybody any questions? Do we have a motion on 6.1?
I'll make a motion to approve item 6.1.
Got a first?
Yep. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Moving on to 6.2, Mr. Bettencourt.
Good afternoon, Board. Before I get started, I wanted to thank you guys for the correction item at the last meeting from the mistake I made at the first meeting in November. So I really appreciate that getting passed. It was just a clerical error on my part and didn't do something that I should have done. So I apologize for that and thank you for allowing that correction. The item before you today is for additional 7 camera system and the implementation of 7 computerized route and work order management systems in the amount of $34,458 to Routeware. Back in September 2020, we purchased a work order management system and route system called Routeware that is installed in all the operating trucks of the solid waste division. Since then, we've added 7 new trucks. And we need to get those installed with the camera system and the computer system in order to get them on the same program that we have currently. It is also a chance to work out some of the kinks that we have with the current trucks that need to have a little retool or take a look at them. So it's to authorize their purchase of that camera and their installation. Also, you'll see a service contract that is added onto your report. That won't be finalized until they make a visit. I don't want to make another error there and saying, hey, instead of 36 trucks, it's going to be 39 trucks. So until I can finalize that after their visit, I will bring that service contract before you for your approval. And if you have any questions on what we're doing, please let me know, and I'll be glad to answer.
So Andrew, you're asking for us to approve the purchase, not the servicing.
The servicing, no, not until I can finalize that
Just want to
contract.
clarify it,
Correct.
right? Anybody have any questions? Well, I'll make a motion to approve item 6.2, the camera system and route water work order contract.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any others? Questions? All those opposed? All those approved? Aye.
Thank
Opposed?
you. Thank you.
Motion passed. Thank you, Andrew. All right. Items of interest.
I've got a few items. First off, we had our first storm event. It's been a couple of weeks now. It was a pretty good event, but the system fared very well. Most of it happened overnight. Once staff got in the morning, they were able to get out there and make sure that pumps were working and the areas that were flooded were drained or pumped as quickly as possible to make it safe. But overall, we did really well. Our system is doing good keeping up with these. Staff does a lot in advance to make sure all the pumps are ready to go, clean storm drains and get everything ready. With that said, our leaf vac program is up and running, so it started this week. So as you know, residents are able to rake or sweep their leaves in front of their house, typically in the street, just a foot away from the curb to allow any water or drainage to go through. But it's a cool program, and I'm proud of it because we're one of the few agencies that provides it. Visalia doesn't do it. Most agencies don't do it, and it's a free program to all of our residents. So we already have a full list of addresses this week, but you know, call those in if you see any leaves piled up or if you have any piled up in front of your house. Tuesday night, the council heard the first reading of the well ordinance, so the revisions that the board approved at the last meeting. They had a couple of questions, nothing serious. They seemed to really support it and understand what our changes were. So they'll do a second reading at the next meeting, and then those changes will come into effect. So I'm super excited about that. It's a big thing that we needed to get done. And then just the last item, our schedule, since we are getting into the holidays. As of right now, I'm not sure if we're going to have a meeting on December 19th. I don't necessarily have any items yet, and I don't know if staff does. We may be canceling it. Plus, our clerk will be out, so we will save Diana from being tested if we don't have a meeting. And then the first meeting in January is scheduled for January 2nd. It's really close to the holiday, which means we have to get transmittals in the week before, and so it's just tight with the holidays. So it looks like we may end up canceling that meeting as well, but we'll give you as much heads up as we can when we know. So if I don't see you before then, have a great holiday, and I'll definitely see you on January 16th.
Thank you. Nothing?
Huh.
Fine.
No, I guess happy holidays to everybody. We don't
Thank
see you
you.
before then.
I don't know, Tricia, were you able to express the?
I feel like I stole your
You
thunder,
did, totally. I was really bummed to miss.
but
that.
you can reiterate
I'll
it.
say a little thing because I have to. But yeah, Tricia probably told you we were a kind of a monumentous thing happened for the mid-Cahuilla or the Cahuilla subbasin where the State Water Resource Control Board actually canceled our meeting to meet for our probation hearing in January because they saw our revised GSP and said, things look good, carry on with what you're doing and put us back into the purview of Department of Water Resources, which was huge. We're one of the first heavily impacted basin, if not the first impacted basin to have that granted to us. So that's a huge kudos to all the staff. There's a lot of people that worked on it day and night. I think even some of our engineers were crying when they realized that they had canceled the hearing. So yeah, great news on that front. So I'll continue to update, but that was a big hill that we got over.
Good. No, she didn't tell us you were excited. Mark, anything?
No, not information.
Well, on behalf of the board, as acting chairman today, thank you, everyone, and Merry Christmas. Meeting adjourned. Yeah, Mark.
Take care.
Okay.